So you've decided to build a stax deck, huh? Well, congratulations! You've just decided to build the hardest archetype inside the entire cEDH format. Hi there, my name is Mons, and I'm the host of this show of cEDH TV, and I'm a big stax player myself. So in this video, we're gonna go in a deep dive on how to properly build a stax deck. But I have to say sorry in advance, this might get advanced. The very simple reason why stax deck are the hardest archetype to build inside this format is because you need to know so much about the format to be able to build stax decks to begin with. They are also the most expensive and the decks that are getting the most updates and require the most updates. There is a saying that when you're building a stax deck, you're not building a 100 card deck, you're building a 150 card deck. The reason for that is actually really simple, because the metagame is continuously changing. For example, once upon a time we were on a Flash Hulk Protein Hulk combo. The entire metagame was focused around that combo, and in that metagame, Rule of Law was really bad. You definitely didn't want to have that inside your deck. It was actually helping the Flash Hulk combos. But Flash got banned and the metagame changed. Now we're on something of a Storm, Adnos, Crix's Underworld Breach meta, and now suddenly Rule of Law is like the best stax piece in the entire game. It's the auto-include of a stax card, or not specifically Rule of Law effects. So now I could showcase all the relevant stax card that you need to have inside your deck and their effects versus the current metagame. That would be a wrong thing to do for this kind of video, because the actual answer is that you continuously have to update that knowledge. Stax decks are the anti-decks. They are built versus the popular metagame decks. So if you wanna build a stax deck and you wanna include back to basic because you think back to basic is amazing, well, if it's not good versus the current metagame and the opponents that you're going up against, then this is a bad card. So how good this card is depending on your opponents. And that is why when you're building a stax deck, you're building a 150 card deck, because your deck continuously changes depending on what's popular among your opponents. So it's expensive to build, it's hard to build. Yeah, great. Now if you haven't turned off the video, let's proceed to the next topic. A really common problem for a lot of stax players in cEDH is that they misunderstand the actual goal, what they need to achieve. Here next to me I have Yasharn, a really cool Celestia legendary creature that you could have inside your deck, or you could have it as your commander. Now there are lots of examples to Yasharn. For example, we also have Lavinia Saurus Renegade. But once again, they're just examples. There's lots of different commanders out there that could fit this example. Here we have the Underworld Breach, Lions, a Diamond and Brain Freeze combo, and you need to know about this combo if you're gonna build a stax deck, because you're gonna go up against this combo and your plan is to defeat this combo. Now, if there is a Yasharn Implacable Earth in play, this combo doesn't really work because they can't sacrifice the Lions, a Diamond, which will basically make this combo fizzle. And Lavinia Saurus Renegade will make it very hard for people to turbo out and ritual ad nauseam, unless they have 5 lands, which is something Grixis decks don't have until like turn 5, so Lavinia is really good versus ad nauseam actually. So on paper, in theory, these legendary creatures as commanders could be great, and I'm also throwing in Grand Arbiter Augustine for the example here as well. There are more commanders that could be up here in the picture. However, they are not great. In practice, they have a problem. You see, they misunderstand the great goal of cEDH, or well, the great goal of competitive Magic, which is universally to win the game. Now this could obviously be phrased in different ways, but what these commanders or what these cards are achieving is preventing your opponents from playing the game. And that is great, but what about winning here? This is very important, so listen carefully. Regardless of what amazing cool stax effect you're doing on the table that is preventing your opponents from playing Magic altogether, will never be perfectly clean, able to lock out all of your opponents. These two cards are just examples, but they have been the boogeyman of stax decks for generations, because what they're able to do is just clean house. Regardless of what kind of stax effect you've been able to put onto the table, they will basically remove it. I would also like to mention that Cooling Ritual have been added to that list of really strong cards versus stax board states. Now, I do know that there are cards that could technically help out here. For example, if we're able to clone Sanctum Prelate, let's go 10 times, and we go 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. You've basically locked out your opponents from casting instant non-creature spells altogether. They can only cast creatures for the rest of the game. Getting to that is really tricky. I've seen it happen a few times, but it's a rarity. For example, I've seen board states like this, where you have a Phantasmal Image clone the Archon of Valor's Reach, so you have two effects of the Archon. Now, winning through this is very tricky, I will absolutely agree with that. But the important thing here is that getting to this board state is extremely tricky compared to an opponent during your build up towards this are finding a way to just get rid of everything and forcing you to rebuild from the beginning. So as a general rule that I personally have is that you should never build a stax deck with the primarily plan A goal of locking down the game so that your opponents can't play the game. You need a way to win the game yourself. However, that rule isn't completely set in stone. Let me showcase a once upon a time a 2-card combo that I brought to a tournament. Once upon a time in my local game store we had a cEDH tournament league, where you accumulated points by playing games, and after 6 months we figured out the top 4. And I actually happened to get into that top 4, and I realized that the 3 opponents I was gonna go up against would die to these 2 cards. We were gonna play a best of 5, basically the first player to win 2 games wins the entire thing. So I had to plan and strategize, but I knew my 3 opponents, and they had 3 things in common. 1, none of them played red. 2nd, they didn't really play dorks. 3rd, they were relying heavily on artifacts and were also in a lot of colors and a lot of non-basic lands. They were really greedy guys. No dorks, only artifacts, only non-basic lands means that if you have these 2 cards in play, those 3 guys, they can't do anything. Now, getting Blood Moon and Rule of Law into play isn't hard. It's actually very easy to achieve. However, it was only working as a 2-card combo versus those 3 guys versus that specific scenario. So I will agree that there are situations where you can have the stax lockdown as your primary plan A combo, but you should only go for that when you know that is going to work. So to summarize this topic, the primary goal of cEDH is to win the game, and if you're having this as the commander, or something of the sort like this as the commander, where your primary goal suddenly is to prevent your opponents from playing the game or trying to win fast, then I'm questioning, how are you winning yourself? You need to have an answer here that is very efficient and very fast. And I'm not talking that you should answer this question really fast and securely and strong. I'm saying that you should have a combo that is consistent and something you can reach toward on an early stage of the game. If you're going for like the win turn 6, then that's very slow. But now we're reaching the 3rd topic, the one that is very important to understand as well. You see, what your stax effects are doing isn't actually what you think they're doing. So here we have an opposition agent. Now, it's easy to read, right? You can't search library. Okay, so opposition agent does no search. Clear, I understand. Wrong, that's not what opposition agent is actually doing. Oh, okay, sure, yes. Opposition agent will prevent people from searching the library. Okay, sure, they're not prevented from doing it, but no, they don't want to do it. However, the actual thing that opposition agent is doing is forcing people to play different. They are being forced to do other things than what they want to do. So here we have a great example, Blue Farm with Tymna and Crom, a boogeyman of the format currently. Now importantly, as I've talked about in the first topic, this could change. This deck could be completely different, not the boogeyman, and everything could be different in the future, we don't know. But currently, as of this video's making, this is the boogeyman of the format. And what they more or less want to do, fast and efficient, is cast Oracle, demonic consultation, and win the game. That's what they want to do. However, If they can't do that because of various stacks effects that you've put into play, you evil stacks player, shame on you, then they have to divert, they have to do something different. And here's the thing, this deck is really good at doing that different. I suddenly realized that that sounds very strange. What I'm trying to say here is that you're putting a stacks effect in play and they are very good at playing around it. Because you see Tymna Kraum over there, they have access to, well, I only showcase in Grixis because that is still the boogeyman of the format, but they have access to white, which means they have access to 4 colors, so they have a lot of different cards in their deck that could solve various stacks effects problem. But most and foremost, Tymna Kraum really good at drawing cards, and that is a great way to play around stacks effect. You just go to the later stage of the game where they are at an advantage. Here's the very important thing. The person that can draw most cards will be the one with the biggest advantage the longer the game goes. So once again, let's practice your skill here. So what is Opposition Agent actually doing? So first and foremost, what I've already actually said, it is forcing your opponents to play around Opposition Agent. But that also means that it's making the game longer, because the thing that decks don't want to do takes longer. And something I've also already said is that the player with the best card drawing capability, or well, the best value engine capability, will have the best advantage in a longer game. So we could literally say that Opposition Agent and all the other stacks effects are literally saying the player with the best draw card capability wins the match. Now, you need to sit up straight, take your hand like this and put it at your heart. This is where my heart is, I'm a mirror to you. Take this hand like this and swear. You need to be honest here with a yes or no question to yourself. Are you the player with the best card draw capability currently in this pod? If the answer is no, then don't play the stacks effect. This is important, you really need to hear this. An incorrect placed stacks effect can king make and cause you to lose the game. You might have heard something called break parity. What that means is that you're able to play a better game compared to everyone else under this effect, for example. And by the way, it's a very complicated question. You see, when I ask you to put your hand here and swear to yourself yes or no, are you the one drawing most cards, there are absolutely more things to look at. Are you the one breaking parity? Are you the one benefiting the most from this stacks effect? That is the question you should ask. But here, are you the one drawing most cards are usually on point of, are you the one breaking parity? It is honestly very subjective. Now for example, you have a Winter Orb, you spend 2 mana and a card and you cast it. Here's the thing, if there's someone out there around the pod of your 3 opponents that is able to play through Winter Orb better than you, then you're kinda helping that person. He wanna have the Winter Orb in play, but you're the one paying for it. This is going back to the first topic, play relevant stacks cards. You have to know so much about the format, because you need to play the relevant stacks effects so that your opponents actually care about them. If they don't care about them, they won't divert, they won't change the game plan. They will keep going towards what they want to do, and you don't want them to do what they want to do. So let's try to combine these 3 topics into something and let's see what we've learned here. So let's start from the beginning. You're sitting down and you're gonna build a stacks deck. Once again, congratulations, you've chosen the hardest archetype inside the entire format. Now the question you should ask yourself, why are you including stacks effects inside your deck? And if you answer Archon of Emeria is good versus Ad Nauseam, then you're correct, but I'm not satisfied. I am your sensei and I have big expectations of you, my young Padawan. Now go and do 10 push-ups. Seriously, do 10 push-ups. Pause the video and do 10 push-ups. Okay, back to seriousness. I'm just getting excited. So what effect do you actually wanna achieve when you put the Archon of Emeria effect in play? Now your answer is allowed to be game technical and have synergy. For example, let's say you're playing the Revi Imperial Tacticianer as the commander. Darevi could use the Archon of Emeria's flying capability to fly over blockers and get untap effects. That's great, that's synergy, that's value. However, Archon of Emeria is also interacting and delaying your opponents, forcing them to play a different game, forcing them to find resources and deal with the Archon while you're benefiting from it while you have it. Remember, while you have it. Always, your opponents will eventually be able to remove the Archon. But up until that point, until your opponents are finding that answer, the Archon of Emeria is giving you value and buying you time. Stax decks are usually slower decks. They need more time to find their combo piece puzzle to win the match. But if your answer here is that Archon of Emeria is giving me more time, giving me time to build up towards my combo, then I love your answer. Good job, my young Padawan. No more push-ups for you today. Sometimes I really question myself on how I'm making my videos and how I am as a teacher, but I'm having fun and it's my way or the highway. But let's get down to examples. I have a deck called cEDH. It's the stackiest of the entire bunch, but it wins really fast. So my cEDH deck is on a heavily Gaia's Cradle game plan. I want to amass a critical mass of creatures. I don't really care what creatures they are, as long as they are creatures. Therefore, Stax Hate Bears are very interesting because they help me with making the game longer, but also they help me with the combo. Suddenly, the Archon of Emeria is a combo piece of sorts, but also an interaction versus my opponents and a value engine, as my deck is very interested in creatures that are attacking as well. By the way, I also want to showcase Tymna here. I think she's a great Stax commander. With your Archon, you can fly over blockers, and then with Tymna, you can draw cards to dig towards your combo game plan, whatever combo that could be. But we're still in the conclusion part. The next question you need to answer is, how are you winning the game? The goal in cEDH is universally whatever people say to win the game. That is the goal and the only goal. The question is, how do you get there? If your answer to this is beatdown, I'm gonna put creatures into play, I'm gonna turn them sideways and kill my opponents with commander combat damage of sorts, then I'm gonna be very disappointed at you and tell you to do 10 more push-ups. You see, in cEDH or in competitive Magic in general, the easier goal to achieve, the better. Now, combat damage is very hard to achieve actually. But if you're playing Yasharn and you're saying that your goal is to put a lot of creatures into play, then you're gonna cast Natural Order for only 4 mana and find Greater Roof Behemoth, then I'm getting a little bit more happy with you. You see, it's not that I don't say that Yasharn is a bad commander, it's just that you need to think about a lot of things. You need to solve a lot of problems when you're picking Yasharn as the commander. Let's say we're picking Venota. The more creatures, the more good, because the more creatures, the more Venota triggers. And with the more Venota triggers, we get to dig more, eventually digging into our combo. Yes, let's say we're going for the Kiki-Jiki Celios Conscript, but there are more options here as well. I'm loving every answer that I'm hearing. You're going for a win con that is efficient, that is something you can achieve, and the reason you're including Stax cards is because you're gaining value from Stax cards. The more Stax cards, the more value, the more good. As a hardcore control player myself, Stax is my go-to in cEDH, and therefore this is a subject close to my heart that I really want to talk a lot about. And I want this video to be as detailed and informative as possible, and also I prefer short videos, and this is getting to the longer reach of my usual creations. But the message that I try to deliver in this video is the big message that I think is the most important. You need to answer, why are you including that specific Stax card in this deck for every single card choice that you're looking at? Second, you need to answer how you're winning the game, and that needs to be a fast and efficient way that you can reach. And then there are more things to think about as well. In any case, that's it for me for this time in this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you liked the video. And as this is a very important subject for me, feel free to drop your questions in the comments below, and I will try my very best to answer those questions. But if you're a patron of mine, I've pledged myself to always deliver. And to all of my patrons, I want to say big thank you for your support. It's really helping out. And if you want to be a patron and support me for the work that I'm doing and potentially have a voice chat about your deck on, let's say, Discord of sorts, then link in the description of the video. Take care, guys. See you next time.